Welcome back to History in Motion, proudly brought to you by Midas. The Porsche 911 is the most popular machine to come from the Porsche factory in Stuttgart and was introduced in 1963. The design of the 911 has been updated just 5 times over 5 decades, and it only switched from using air-cooled engines to water-cooled engines back in 1998. The Liqui Moly endurance race was declared a wet one, and it was only the brave few who were going to venture onto the track.
Feeling positive about it. The old car is constructed of wood and fiberglass, a bit like our yacht, so it'll do a bit of puddle jumping from one to the next. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. I think the damp conditions will suit us really well, and some of the more powerful cars I think will struggle to get traction, and then that should lead to our advantage. So looking forward to it.
I'm starting, and I'll warm the car up a bit, and then Andrew will finish off the race for us.
Bit nervous, but yes, good practice. Hope I can keep it on the road.
So what's your plan of attack?
Slowly, but gently, yeah.
You got some wet tyres on there?
I hope so. I better check.
Ian Morgan did check, and he decided to do a quick tyre change before the race began. A fantastic variety of cars collected in the pre-race paddock for the Liqui Moly endurance race, and the smaller cars were hoping to have the advantage of the bigger ones in the wet conditions, so perhaps an unexpected result is on the cards. Qualifying took place in damp conditions, and this favoured the Lotuses. Etienne Stradom and Andre Darfel making an all-Lotus affair on the front row. Davy Olivier in his Mercedes-Benz in 6th is the first non-Lotus on the grid, followed by Fritz Kleinhans and Jan Jacobs. Andre Darfel leads Sean Hewitt and Davy Olivier onto the start-finish straight as they wait for the lights to go out. The lights go out, and we are racing in the Liqui Moly endurance race. 19 cars qualified, but due to the conditions, only 11 have been able to make the start. Darfel and Hewitt nose to tail through turn 1 and 2. Davy Olivier hot on their heels though. Olivier goes round the outside of Hewitt and lines up Darfel. He runs a little bit wide there, but recovers and powers on. Further back, Martin van der Merwe, Andreas Letnik, Josh Dovey and Ian Morgan make their way round turn 3 and 4 on lap 1. Into sunset, and Davy Olivier has the inside line and passes Andre Darfel. You can just see how wet the track still is, and Darfel and Hewitt coming back on Olivier. Hewitt pushing hard, and the rain continues to fall at Kyalami. Up at the top of the hill, and Olivier usually pretty good in the wet, and he is certainly looking good at the moment. Down the mine shaft, and Sean Hewitt makes his move on Darfel. He accelerates past him, and I'm sure Hewitt will be eyeing up the Mercedes now. Down the start-finish straight, and Andreas Letnik runs down the inside of Hubi van Moltke in the big Mercedes-Benz 280E. Josh Dovey follows him through in the Austin Healey Sprite. The smaller cars definitely coping better on the wet track. Behind Van Moltke is Ian Morgan in his Mercedes-Benz 280, and Martin van der Merwe in his MGB GT is the last car running on the track in 11th. Track conditions continuing to worsen as the endurance race progresses. Up at the top of the hill, and Sean Hewitt is beginning to get a little bit brave in the wet conditions as he goes down the inside of Olivier on the exit. The pair run side by side down the hill. The lighter car might be more nimble, but the weight of the Mercedes might be to its benefit as he can get more rubber down to the ground. Exiting the mine shaft and heading into the bowl, and Hewitt looks to have the advantage, but the Mercedes hasn't given up yet. Side by side they run through the bowl, but heading up to turn 13, it's Hewitt in the lead. Into the pits comes Martin van der Merwe in his MGB GT for his obligatory 2-minute pit stop. It looks like Howard Nell went a bit wide at turn 13 and has done a bit of farming. He joins the race though and will continue on his way. Back in circulation after his pit stop, and Van der Merwe spins the MGB round at the final bend. The conditions really are very tricky out there. Well, the bird seems to be enjoying the wet weather though. Sean Hewitt in the green Lotus is still ahead of Olivier, who is all over the place on the way out of 13. Down the hill they come, trying to maintain some grip as they make their way around the final bend. Now it's Hewitt's turn to get a bit sideways. Exiting turn 4 and Davi Olivier in the silver and blue Mercedes-Benz pulls up alongside Sean Hewitt and edges slightly ahead. Into sunset and the Mercedes moves into the lead. Sean Hewitt keeps on his tail and climbing up to clubhouse he tries to fight back, but the Mercedes is just too powerful in the end. In the pits now we have Andre Darfel in the number 86 Lotus. Andrew Wilson hops into Howard Nell's Marcus 3.0 GT and sets off. How was Howard's stint?
It was good. It's a little bit slippery out there. I had also a bit of an expedition into one of the sand traps. Braking and wet weather doesn't help much.
Sean Hewitt pits from second place in the number 66 Lotus. Hubi van Moltke has time for a quick window wipe before setting off again. Jan Jacobs has gone off at turn 3 but rejoins behind race leader Davi Olivier, who peels off into the pits. Olivier, showing damage from earlier incidents in the day, watches the countdown. A bit of fuel needed for the number 27 Lotus of Quinton Roux before strapping in and heading back onto the track. Martin van der Merwe back into the pits for some fuel, and he will rejoin at the back of the field after having had to pit twice. Jan Jacobs in his Alfa Romeo GT Junior having a consistent run in this wet endurance race. Into the final bend, and Hubi van Moltke in his Mercedes-Benz is ahead of second place Sean Hewitt in his Lotus. Hewitt will be looking for a way past as they head onto the start-finish straight. The Lotus driver accelerates down the start-finish straight and is able to pass the big Mercedes. A spin there for Quinton Roux at the top of the hill. Ian Morgan and Andre Darfel go past. Roux rejoins and continues with his race. Jan Jacobs in fourth is a lap ahead of Hubi van Moltke. Josh Dovey is in fifth place. And Ian Morgan, after changing his tyres and starting from the back of the grid, is having a great run and is up to sixth place. The rain has eased off slightly, which should help the drivers with visibility, and the track should also be drying slightly, which will make finding grip a little bit easier. Race leader Davi Olivier coming round to lap the Lotus of Andreas Letnik as he heads into the Nashuas. Andrew Wilson is having a good stint in Howard Nell's Marcos as he heads up to the double left-handers, currently running in 7th. Andreas Letnik behind him in 8th position. Josh Dovey is managing to keep ahead of Ian Morgan in their battle for 5th, and they have 4th place man Jan Jacobs in their sights. Putting a lot of pressure on Josh Dovey as they head down the mine shaft. Dovey is going to have to work hard to stay ahead. Round turn 14 they come. Josh Dovey still ahead in the Healy. Ian Morgan pushing hard and he gets the back all crossed up and sideways. This will ease the pressure that Dovey has been feeling. Behind this battle, coming round the final bend, is Davi Olivier in his Mercedes-Benz Mampé. He will be very happy to see the checkered flag and take victory in this 1-hour endurance race. Sean Hewitt in his Lotus will have to settle for second. Andre Darfel finishing in 3rd place, Jan Jacobs in 4th, and Josh Dovey hanging on to finish 6 seconds ahead of Ian Morgan. Great racing in rather adverse weather conditions in the first Liqui Moly endurance race of the season.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I love the rain, especially if you're on the right tires. I mean, in one of the sprint races, I had full slicks, and that was a bit of a challenge. But yeah, my old semi-slicks worked out well, and it was a great dice with that one green Lotus. I don't even know who the guy is, but wow, what a nice dice. Yeah, I actually thought at some stage, because myself and the guy with the Lotus, we were passing each other every now and then I saw the rain stopped. Track was still wet, and I decided, okay, let me come in now, a little bit of tactics, because then, you know, if I sit in the pits for 2 minutes, you know, the compulsory stop, then, you know, it's 2 minutes later that the track could have dried out a little bit. And as I went out, I saw the track was a little bit better, and I started pushing the envelope, but I didn't know where he was. And when I saw the checkered flag, I was delighted. I mean, it's fantastic. I think it's the first win in that Merck's history, so lekker.
A little bit tricky in the wet, beginning of the race. I was lying third behind Andre in the Merc, whoever's driving that. Got past Andre, got up behind the Merc, managed to pass him. And I think after about 10 or 15 minutes, he just got the better of me in the wet and managed to saunter off into the distance. But I brought it home in one piece and in second place.
History in Motion is proudly brought to you by Midas Sport, Gumtree, Mitsubishi Electric, and our associated sponsors. Round 2 of the Midas Historic Tour will be taking place at the Desi Raceway in Port Shepstone, KZN on April 11th. See you there.